Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be learning how to make this simple pencil skirt. It's actually a very simple tutorial. So if this looks like what you are interested in, please continue watching. If you are stopping by for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Lillian. Please click the subscribe button and then turn on the notification bell so that you get notified anytime I upload a subsequent video. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. So for material, we'll be needing a chinchilla or net, whatever you have available will do, and then we'll also be needing a car 1.5 yard depending on your body size. So first thing first, you're going to come down by a few inches from the top of your paper, and then I'm going to go in by 7 inches, which is my waist circumference divided by 4, and then I'm going to add extra 1 inch for my dart intake, and then I'm going to come down by 9 inches, which is my waist to hip line. I'm going to go ahead and create my hip line, and then I will go in by 10 inches, which is my hip circumference divided by 4 because I'm using 40 inches, and then I'll connect it straight to my waistline. So after doing that, I'm going to mark my waist to 24 inches, which is my waist to knee line. So guys, after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and then create my knee line, and then I'm going to impute the same 10 inches I mark on my hip line on the knee line and then connect it back to my hip line. So after doing that, I'm going to go out by 1.5 inch. This is actually to shaping it to pencil skirt, so I'm going to go out by 1.5 inch and connect it back to my hip line. And then from my waistline, I'm going to go in by 4 inches and then come down by 5 inches. So that is actually my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, because I'm using 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I'm going to go out by half inch on both sides and then connect it back to the inches I went down with. So hope this is clear. So after doing that, I'm going to go in by half inch on the waistline. So this is actually to shaping that part. Some people do use 1 inch, but I use half inch. So whatever you use is okay, whatever works for you is fine. So this is for the front. So we are going to add allowance. So I'm going to be adding 1 inch as my seam allowance. So whatever works for you, you can use 1.5 inch. So whatever you are used to, but for me, I'm going to be making use of 1 inch. Then I'm just going to go ahead and then connect it like so. So after doing that, we are going to go ahead now and then mark out our band. So I'm going to be using 1.5 inch as my band. So note that you can actually use 2 inches. You can use whatever you want as your band, but I'm using 1.5 inch. So this is it. So we are going to go ahead now and then cut that. I added extra allowance that we used to join it, and then I'm going to come down from my hip line by 8 inches so that the rest of it is going to be my net. So hope this makes sense. So I'm just going to go ahead and then mark this out. After doing that, I'm going to add half inches allowance that we're going to use to join the nets together with the main fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out. So guys, after cutting out, what you are going to do is to turn your pattern just as you can see me do, then go ahead and trace out the back pattern. So there's no need of drafting the back pattern. We'll just use our front to trace out the back pattern and then just add our zipper allowance. So guys, this is it for the back pattern. So what you're going to do, you're going to cut out the band for the front. So you are seeing it, just cut off your band because we won't be needing it. And then what we are going to do next is to add your 1 inch zipper allowance. So we don't need to add any other allowance to the back because we already have the allowance at the front. So it's only zipper allowance that we are going to be adding on the back pattern. So just as you can see me, to go ahead and then add your 1 inch for your zipper allowance. So after adding your zipper allowance, all you need to do is just to go ahead and then cut out. So the next thing we are going to do is to impute our dart on the back pattern. Remember, you are going to start from your main measurement and not from the 1 inches you added as your allowance for zipper. So I'm going to come down by 6 inches, and then I'm going to make sure they're aligning by 4 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Always do this to make sure that you are actually marking a very straight dart. So I went up by half inch on both sides. So this is it. I'm also going to come down by 1.5 inch for my
band as usual, so I'm going to go ahead and connect it. I'm also going to add half inch that I'm going to use to join it with the main piece, just as you can see me to go ahead and cut out. Guys, this is it for the whole piece. So we are going to go ahead now and then cut out on our fabric. So you are going to place your fabric on fold. Remember the front pattern, you always cut it on fold. So place the front pattern on fold, then go ahead and cut out, just as you can see me do. So go ahead and cut out. After cutting out, I'm going to be notching my dart point. You can see what I'm doing, so I just notch it, and then I'm going to also place my fabric on fold so that I can cut out the back piece. So I'm actually placing it on fold because I want to cut two pieces at a go, not because I want to cut it on fold. So after doing that, pin down and then go ahead and cut out also, just as you can see me do. So guys, this is it. So what I'm going to do, I'm also going to notch my dart point, and then I'm going to transfer my dart to my main piece. So I'm going to pin it. You can see what I'm doing, and then mark it from the other end. So I'm just going to mark my chalk on it so that I can use my ruler to transfer my dart to my main piece. So however you actually do yours is fine, however you know how to. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to transfer my dart also to the main fabric. So I already notched the end point there, so all I need to do now is just to connect it. So you can actually do whatever you are used to. You can transfer your darts however you know how to. So this is how I usually transfer my darts. So what I'm going to do now is to repeat the same thing on the front pattern. So I'm going to also pierce my pin through the end point there, since I already notched the waistline, and then I'm going to go ahead and then connect, just as you can see me do. So this is it, guys. So I'm going to do the same thing to this other side. I'm going to repeat the same thing, also mark out my darts. Okay, so after doing that, we are going to join now. So I'm just going to open it up and then add my side back to it. So I'm going to face it right side facing the right side, and then I'm going to go ahead and then pin down. So I'm going to do the same thing with the other piece. I'm also going to join the right side facing the right side, and then I'll go ahead and pin down. So we are going to mark out 1 inch. That is the same allowance I added, and that is what I'm going to be sewing with. So whatever you added is what we are going to be sewing with. So I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. I'm also going to mark out my 1 inch as my joining allowance. So I'm going to go ahead now and then join it by the side, then also sew off my darts, and then I'll bring it back. So guys, welcome back. So this is it. I already joined just like I instructed us. I already sewed off my dart, and then I joined by the side by 1 inch. So we are going to open it up, and then we are going to take the measurement of our hemline. So just take the full measurement of your hemline. So whatever you have, you are going to cut out a net of that length. Okay, so the inches I'm going to be using, 11, I think 10. I'm going to be using 10 instead. So I'm going to be using 10 inches. So I started all over again. You can see it. I'm going to be using 10 inches instead of 11. So I don't know, it depends on the length you want for your net. So you can actually extend it more than what you actually cut out. So you can use 11, you can use 12. It depends on the length. You can even take it to your full length. So whatever you want at this point is what you are going to do. Just make sure you work with the round circumference of the other part of your skirt. That is your normal fabric that we already joined together. So that is actually one of the most important things. So the length of whatever net or changeala, whatever you are using that you cut out, is absolutely like your choice, 100%. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So guys, I already cut out, just as you can see. So I'm going to measure to be very sure that the length I have is actually accurate, is enough for what I'm looking for. So just as you can see me to repeat the same thing, you know that this is net, so you need to be careful. You know that it's stretchy, so it can actually stretch, so you just need to be careful. So as you can see, I'm just going to cut off this excess that I have here, because it's actually longer than what I am looking for. So this is it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take the circumference of about 3 inches down from this net. So just as you can see me do, place your about 3 inches down. Just take the circumference of that point, and then we are going to go ahead and then cut out a strap. Okay, so the strap we are going to cut out is going to be the same length. Is going to be the same length with what you just measured, and then the width is going to be about 3 inches. So hope this is clear. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to cut out 3 inches width of strap. So you can actually, I think 3 inches is okay, so that by the time we are done joining, we will be left with about 1 inch or 1.5 inch. So just cut out 3 inches as you can see me do. Go ahead and cut it out. So after cutting, you are going to go over to your machine, and then you are going to join by 1/2 inch. Okay, so you are going to join. I'm just measuring to be sure that is enough for what I'm looking for. So whatever excess I have, I'm going to cut it off, just as you can see me do now. So we are going to go over to our machine and then join this by 1/2 inch. So after joining, turn it out and then iron out. You can actually choose to add paper tape to make it firm. It's actually a matter of choice. You can just choose to sew and then just leave it. So guys, this is it. So after joining, I went ahead to turn and then iron out. So what we are going to do now, we are going to be adding this strap to our net. So I'm going to be marking 4 inches down. So remember, you can actually do 3 inches. Okay, you can choose to do 3 inches, but for me, I'm going to mark 4 inches and then pin down. So you can see what I'm doing. Make sure you mark it accurately so that everything will come out fine, so that you have a very fine finished look. So make sure you mark, and then as you pin down, don't drag it. Remember, this net is a bit stretchy, so you need to be careful. Don't drag it so that it won't stretch too much. So hope that makes sense. So just as you can see me do now, go ahead, as you measure, pin down, make sure you measure so that you can have a very straight line. So hope this makes sense. So we are just going to go ahead and pin down, just as you can see me to do the same. So after pinning down, I'm going to bring the back together, just as you can see me to be very sure that they are aligning at the back. So if there is any need for any necessary adjustments, you can go ahead and make it. Just make sure they are aligning, like they are equal at the back, so that after sewing, everything will also align. So hope this makes sense. So I'm going to open it up. So what we are going to do now is to go over to our machine and then top stitch. So top stitch at the top, top stitch at the bottom. So I'm going to do just that and then I'll bring it back. So guys, this is it after top stitching. So make sure you top stitch on both ends, and then what we are going to do is to bring in your main piece and then open up the side seam. You can see what I'm doing. Open on the side seam and then join it right side facing the right side. Okay, so make sure you align it very well, just as you can see me do it to align it properly. So after doing that, we're going to go ahead now and then pin down. So carefully pin down, just as you can see me do. Guys, so this is it after pinning down. So we are going to go over to our machine now, and then we are going to join by 1/2 inch. Okay, so we are going to join by 1/2 inch. So I'll go over to my machine and do that, and then I'll bring it back. So guys, this is it after joining. So what you are going to do, this thing you use in joining, we are going to iron it to the fabric side. So hope you can see it, so that it won't be showing on the right side. Just as you can see, iron it to the fabric side, and then everything will be on the fabric side. So what we are going to do now, we're going to measure our waistline circumference so that we can actually cut out our band. So whatever you have, note the inches, and then we are going to cut out our band. So for me, I'll be making use of a width of 4 inches, so that by the time I fold in half inch, I'll be left with 3 inches, which I will also fold to give me my 1.5 inch, which I took off as my band. So guys, so hope this makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut that. So after cutting out, I'm going to go ahead and then add that paper stay or gum stay. So whatever you have available that will make it stiff. So that is what we are going to add. Guys, after doing that, I'm going to mark out half inch on both sides before I will use my iron to actually hem in the 1/2 inch. So if you can actually do that without marking, it's fine, but I actually use my pen to mark at 1/2 inch first. So you can see me actually ironing the 1/2 inch in, and then I'm going to also fold it into two, so that I can iron to have my 1.5 inch. So guys, so hope this makes sense. So just do the same, just as you can see me do, and then when you're done, you are going to bring in your main piece, and then what you're going to do, so if you do it very well, you can see that it's actually 1.5 inch that you will have. So we are going to add this to our band. So we are done with this. Actually, just add your band. You are going to just stop stitch it around your waistline, After doing that, go ahead and add your zipper. So this is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye.